Hello, and welcome to my garden. There's a particular kind of magic in planting something once and having it return, year after year, to offer up its bounty. It's a quiet conversation with the seasons, a relationship built on trust and a little bit of patience. Today, I want to share with you some of my favorite perennial food crops, the ones that form the very backbone of a sustainable backyard garden. These aren't fussy plants. They are generous, reliable friends who ask for very little but give so much in return. They are the essence of a truly low-maintenance food supply, a gift that keeps on giving. Imagine stepping out your back door and harvesting something delicious for your dinner, not just for one season, but for many to come. It's a deeply satisfying and grounding experience. The beauty of these perennial crops is their resilience. Once they've settled in, they largely take care of themselves, becoming a permanent and productive part of your garden's ecosystem. They are a long-term investment in your soil, your health, and your connection to the food you eat. It's about working with nature, not against it, creating a garden that is both beautiful and bountiful. In this guide, we'll walk through everything you need to know to get started. We'll discuss the best times to plant and when to expect your first harvest. We'll look at the specific climate and care each plant prefers, and how to gently nudge it in the right direction. I'll share some simple, effective ways to deter common pests and diseases without resorting to harsh chemicals. And of course, we'll talk about the best part, turning your harvest into delicious meals. We'll even explore how to make the most of your space through the clever art of synergistic planting. So, come along with me. Let's get our hands in the soil. We begin with a true aristocrat of the vegetable patch, asparagus. There is something quite regal about those first spears pushing through the soil in spring. It requires a bit of patience, I won't lie. You plant the crowns, which look like strange, spindly octopuses, in early spring. But you must resist the temptation to harvest for the first year, or even two. This allows the plant to establish a robust root system, a foundation for decades of production. It's a lesson in delayed gratification, one that the garden teaches so well. Once established, your reward comes in late spring and into the early summer. You'll head out on a cool morning to find these perfect tender spears ready for the picking. When harvesting, it's best to use a sharp knife and cut them just below the soil level. It's important to stop harvesting when the spears begin to look thin and spindly. This allows the plant to grow into its beautiful, feathery, fern-like foliage, which will gather sunlight and energy for the following year's crop. Asparagus is a sun worshipper. It needs at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight a day to truly thrive. Good drainage is also absolutely crucial. It detests having wet feet, so if you have heavy clay soil, it's well worth your time to prepare the bed thoroughly. Amending the soil with plenty of well-rotted compost and grit will create the free-draining, rich environment it loves. A raised bed can be an excellent solution for ensuring perfect drainage from the outset. The primary foe you might encounter is the asparagus beetle, a small, rather handsome, black and cream-colored insect. They and their larvae can nibble on the spears and defoliate the ferns. The best defense is vigilance. Hand-picking them in the morning and dropping them into a bucket of soapy water is a simple and effective control. For a larger patch, a floating row cover placed over the bed early in the season can prevent the beetles from ever reaching your plants. Now, for the eating. There is, for me, nothing better than the simplest preparation. Take a bundle of freshly cut spears, toss them gently in good olive oil, a sprinkle of sea salt, and a bit of black pepper. Roast them in a hot oven until they are just tender and slightly caramelized at the tips. A final squeeze of fresh lemon juice just before serving elevates them to something truly sublime. It's the pure, unadulterated taste of spring. Asparagus is a sociable plant and doesn't like to be crowded, but it does have its preferred companions. Because it's one of the first crops to be harvested, the space around it can be put to good use later in the season. I've found it grows wonderfully alongside strawberries. The strawberries act as a living mulch, suppressing weeds and keeping the soil cool. And their shallow roots don't compete with the deep-rooted asparagus. They make for a very productive and attractive partnership in a perennial bed. This is a long-term relationship, you see. A well-tended asparagus bed can remain productive for 20 years or more. It becomes a landmark in your garden, a reliable friend that heralds the arrival of spring each year. The initial effort of preparing the bed and the patience required in those first couple of years is repaid 100-fold over the life of the plant. It's a true investment in the future of your garden and your kitchen. Now for a plant that brings a wonderful, sharp tang to the garden rhubarb. Its enormous architectural leaves and vibrant crimson stalks make it as beautiful as it is productive. There's a real sense of permanence with a rhubarb crown. You plant it in the cool, damp soil of early spring, giving it a generous helping of well-rotted manure, and it will settle in to become a fixture of your garden for years to come. It's a plant with a strong character. Like asparagus, it requires a little patience. You should let it establish for a full year before you begin to harvest. This allows the crown to build up the energy it needs for vigorous production. From the second year onwards, you can begin to pull the stalks from late spring right through the summer. The correct way to harvest is not to cut, but to grasp the stalk firmly at its base and pull with a gentle twisting motion. It should come away cleanly from the crown. It's crucial to remember that only the stalks are edible. The leaves contain high levels of oxalic acid and are poisonous, so they should go straight onto the compost heap, where they will break down and eventually return their nutrients to the garden. Never harvest all the stalks at once. Always leave at least a third of them on the plant to ensure it has enough energy to continue growing and to prepare for the following season. It's a partnership, a give and take. Rhubarb is a cool climate lover. It needs a period of winter chill to produce the best stalks, and it thrives in soil that is consistently moist but not waterlogged. It's a hungry plant, so a top dressing of compost or manure each winter, just before the new growth appears, will be gratefully received. This annual feeding is the key to thick, juicy, and plentiful stalks year after year. It's a simple ritual that pays huge dividends. The main issue you might face with rhubarb is crown rot, which, as the name suggests, is caused by the crown sitting in waterlogged soil. This is why good drainage is so important. If your garden has heavy soil, planting your rhubarb on a slight mound can help to ensure that water drains away from the crown. A healthy, well-fed plant in the right conditions is rarely troubled by anything else. It's a wonderfully robust and self-reliant character. When it comes to the kitchen, rhubarb's tartness is its greatest asset, crying out for the sweetness of a crumble. Chopped stalks, a good sprinkle of sugar, perhaps a hint of ginger or orange zest, all tucked under a blanket of buttery, oaty crumble topping. Baked until golden and bubbling, and served with a dollop of thick cream or custard, it is the ultimate comfort food. It's the taste of late spring evenings, a perfect end to a day in the garden. In the garden plan, rhubarb and asparagus make excellent neighbors. They share similar soil and seasonal requirements, and their growth habits are complementary. The broad leaves of the rhubarb can help to suppress weeds around the base of the asparagus ferns later in the season. Planting them together in a dedicated perennial bed creates a highly productive corner of the garden that requires minimal fuss once established, providing you with the first delicious harvests of the year. The globe artichoke is a plant of immense drama. A thistle, really, but one of the most magnificent you will ever grow. With its silvery, deeply cut foliage and towering flower stalks, it commands attention in any border, vegetable patch or not. It's a statement plant, a piece of living sculpture that also happens to produce one of the most delicious and intriguing vegetables you can eat. Planting it in spring feels like you are setting the stage for a grand performance. The part we eat is, in fact, the immature flower bud. You must harvest these buds in late spring or early summer, just before the bracts, the leaves of the bud, begin to open up and reveal the purple flower within. You cut the main, central bud first, which will encourage the plant to produce smaller, but equally delicious side buds further down the stalk. It's a process of careful observation, of knowing the right moment to intervene. Artichokes are Mediterranean in spirit. They adore mild winters and summers that are cool and moist, rather than scorching hot. In colder climates, they will need some winter protection. After the final harvest, you can cut the plant back and cover the crown with a deep mulch of straw or bracken to insulate it from the worst of the frosts. It's a little bit of extra care that ensures its survival and return the following spring. The most common pest you'll find on your artichokes are aphids, particularly the black fly, which can congregate on the undersides of the leaves and on the developing buds. A strong jet of water from the hose can often be enough to dislodge them. If they are more persistent, a simple spray made from a little bit of washing up liquid mixed with water is a gentle but effective deterrent. A healthy plant is always the best defense. For me, the purest way to enjoy an artichoke is to treat it with simplicity. Steam the entire head until the bracts can be pulled away easily. Serve it whole on a plate with a little pot of melted garlic butter or a good vinaigrette for dipping. The ritual of pulling off each leaf, scraping the tender flesh with your teeth, and working your way towards the prized tender heart is a slow, sensual pleasure. It's a food that demands you take your time. Artichokes are large plants and need a good amount of space to spread their architectural leaves. However, the space beneath and between them can be used effectively. They can be interplanted with low-growing, sun-loving herbs like thyme or oregano. These herbs act as a living mulch, helping to retain moisture in the soil and suppress weeds, and their aromatic oils may even help to deter some pests. It creates a beautiful, multi-layered, and productive planting. Growing an artichoke is about more than just the harvest. It's about embracing the theatricality of the garden. It will stand for 3 to 5 years, sometimes more, as a magnificent centerpiece. Even if you were to miss a bud and let it flower, you would be rewarded with a spectacular, thistle-like purple bloom that is a magnet for bees. It is a plant that gives back in so many ways, a true feast for the eyes as well as the stomach. From the drama of the artichoke, we move to the humble, unassuming, yet utterly indispensable chive. This is perhaps one of the easiest and most rewarding perennial herbs you can grow. It's a member of the onion family, and its slender, green, grass-like leaves provide a delicate onion flavor that is so much more refined than its more pungent relatives. It's a plant every garden should have, no matter how small. You can plant chives from seed or, more easily, from a division of an existing clump. They are not fussy. Pop them in the ground in spring or autumn, and they will quickly establish themselves. They are one of the first plants to show signs of life in late winter. Their bright green shoots a welcome promise of the growing season to come. And from that moment on, you can harvest them continuously. Harvesting chives couldn't be simpler. You just need a pair of scissors. Snip the leaves as you need them, cutting them about an inch or so from the base. This is what we call a cut-and-come-again crop. The more you harvest them, the more they will grow. This regular trimming encourages fresh, tender growth and prevents the leaves from becoming tough. It's a plant that thrives on being used. One of the great virtues of chives is that they thrive in a wide range of climates and conditions. They prefer full sun but will tolerate a bit of partial shade. They are not particularly demanding about soil, as long as it isn't completely waterlogged. And for some wonderful reason, they are almost entirely untroubled by pests and diseases. Their oniony scent seems to act as a natural deterrent, making them a wonderfully low-maintenance companion in the garden. In early summer, chives will produce beautiful globe-like purple flowers. These are also edible and have a lovely mild onion flavor. You can sprinkle the individual florets over salads for a touch of color and a burst of flavor. However, if you want to encourage continuous leaf production, it's a good idea to snip off the flower stalks as they appear. Or you can do as I do. Let some flower for the bees and for beauty, and keep others trimmed for the kitchen. Their culinary uses are almost endless. Finely snipped chives, stirred into scrambled eggs, or an omelette just before serving is a classic for a reason. They are wonderful in potato salads, mixed with soft cheese to make a simple spread for bread, or sprinkled over soups as a final garnish. Their fresh, gentle flavor enhances without overpowering, bringing a bright green note to so many dishes. Chives are also a fantastic companion plant. Their scent is said to deter aphids and other pests, making them a useful neighbor for more vulnerable crops. I like to plant them as an edging around carrot beds, as their smell can confuse the carrot root fly. They also grow beautifully alongside tomatoes. This synergistic planting is the key to a healthy, balanced garden ecosystem, where plants work together to support and protect one another. There are few garden pleasures as simple and profound as eating a sun-warmed blueberry straight from the bush. These little blue jewels are packed with flavor and goodness, and honestly, growing your own is totally achievable, provided you can give them what they need. They're a long-term investment, a shrub that will reward you with fruit for many, many years. It's a delightful addition to any garden, bringing both flowers in spring and delicious fruit in summer. The most important requirement for blueberries is acidic soil. They belong to the same family as rhododendrons and azaleas, and share their need for a low pH, somewhere between 4.5 and 5.5. If your garden soil isn't naturally acidic, and for many of us it isn't, the easiest way to grow them is in pots. A large container filled with ericaceous compost provides the perfect environment, and it allows you to control their conditions precisely. Planting is best done in early spring. If you are planting more than one, which is always a good idea to ensure good pollination and a heavier crop, give them enough space to grow. Even in pots, they will develop into quite substantial shrubs over time. They love a sunny, sheltered spot and need to be kept consistently moist, especially when the fruit is developing. A mulch of pine bark or pine needles can help to retain moisture and maintain the soil's acidity. As the berries begin to ripen in mid to late summer, you'll notice that you're not the only one who finds them irresistible. Birds, particularly blackbirds, adore them. The only truly effective way to protect your crop is with netting. Drape it over the bushes as the first berries start to show a hint of blue, securing it around the base so that determined birds can't sneak underneath. It's a small price to pay for a bountiful harvest. Of course, the classic use for a glut of blueberries is in pancakes. There is nothing quite like a stack of fluffy pancakes, studded with berries that have burst in the heat, releasing their sweet purple juice. They are also wonderful in muffins, pies, or simply eaten fresh with a bit of yogurt for breakfast. Freezing them is also incredibly easy. Just spread them on a baking tray to freeze individually before transferring them to a bag. Blueberries have a shallow, fibrous root system, which means they don't like competition from weeds. This also makes them excellent candidates for underplanting with other acid-loving, shallow-rooted perennials. Strawberries, particularly the alpine varieties, make a wonderful companion. They form a dense ground cover that suppresses weeds and keeps the soil cool and moist, all while providing you with another delicious crop from the same space. Growing blueberries is a wonderful way to extend your harvest season into the heart of summer. The bushes themselves are attractive, with delicate bell-shaped flowers in spring, the bounty of fruit in summer, and then fantastic, fiery red foliage in the autumn. They are a plant for all seasons. With a little bit of preparation to get the soil right, they will become a reliable and much-loved feature of your edible garden. Now for a plant that is often misunderstood, the Jerusalem artichoke, or sunchoke. It has no connection to Jerusalem, and it isn't an artichoke, but it is a wonderfully productive and easygoing perennial. It's actually a species of sunflower, grown not for its flowers, though they are cheerful, but for its knobbly, delicious tubers that form underground. It is one of the most low-maintenance and high-yielding crops you can possibly grow. Planting could not be simpler. You take the tubers, which look a bit like ginger root, and plant them in early spring, about 4 to 6 inches deep. And that's about it. They are incredibly unfussy about soil, tolerating poor, heavy, or sandy conditions, although they will, of course, produce a larger crop in richer soil. They are survivors, and once you have them, you will likely have them for good. They grow tall, very tall. The stalks can easily reach 6 to 10 feet, topped with small, bright yellow sunflower-like blooms in late summer. This height makes them an excellent choice for creating a temporary screen or windbreak in the garden. However, their vigor is something to be aware of. They can be invasive, so it's wise to plant them in a dedicated bed or a contained area where they can't spread and take over. Harvesting takes place in late autumn, after the first frosts have caused the foliage to die back. This frost actually helps to sweeten the tubers. You can use a garden fork to carefully lift the clumps from the ground. The wonderful thing about them is that you don't need to harvest them all at once. The ground is the best storage place, so you can leave them in and dig them up as you need them right through the winter. The main challenge with these plants, apart from their vigor, can be slugs, which sometimes enjoy nibbling on the young shoots as they emerge in spring. A barrier of grit or crushed eggshells around the new growth can help to deter them. But generally speaking, their towering, robust nature means they are rarely troubled by pests or diseases. They are a truly resilient and self-sufficient crop. Now to the kitchen. My favorite way to cook sunchokes is to roast them. Scrub them well, no need to peel, chop them into chunks, toss with olive oil, rosemary, salt, and pepper, and roast until they are tender on the inside and crispy and caramelized on the outside. They have a wonderful, nutty, slightly sweet flavor, quite unlike anything else. They also make a fantastic, silky soup. Because they are such vigorous growers and heavy feeders, it's a good idea not to grow them in the same spot year after year. After you've harvested a bed of sunchokes, it's a perfect opportunity to improve the soil by rotating in a nitrogen-fixing crop, like beans or peas, for the following season. This simple act of crop rotation helps to maintain soil health and fertility, ensuring the long-term productivity of your entire garden. Our final plant is one that deserves to be much more widely grown: sorrel. This leafy green is a perennial powerhouse, providing a unique, sharp, lemony flavor that can brighten up so many dishes. It's one of the very first greens to appear in the spring and will happily produce leaves for you right through the season until the first hard frosts of autumn. It's a plant that keeps on giving. There are several varieties, but the one most commonly grown is broadleaf sorrel. You can sow it from seed or plant small plants in the spring. It's not demanding, but it does have its preferences. It enjoys a cool, moist spot in the garden and will even do quite well in partial shade, which is a useful quality. In the heat of summer, it can have a tendency to bolt or run to seed, but a position out of the fiercest midday sun can help to delay this. Like chives, sorrel is a cut-and-come-again crop. You harvest the outer leaves, leaving the central crown to continue producing new growth. Pick the leaves when they are young and tender for the best flavor. Regular harvesting and removing any flower stalks that appear will trick the plant into remaining in a vegetative state, ensuring a continuous supply of leaves for the kitchen. Pests are rarely a major issue for sorrel, but you might occasionally notice the squiggly trails of leaf miners. These are the larvae of a small fly tunneling within the leaf. The simplest solution is just to remove and destroy the affected leaves. This prevents the larvae from maturing and reproducing. A healthy, vigorous plant will quickly replace the leaves you've removed. The classic use for this herb is in sorrel soup, a creamy, tangy, and utterly delicious dish that is a true celebration of spring. The leaves wilt down just like spinach, but they retain their incredible lemony zing. It's also wonderful shredded raw into salads to add a sharp counterpoint to other flavors, or used to make a vibrant green sauce for fish, particularly salmon. Its acidity cuts through the richness of the fish beautifully. Sorrel is a very good neighbor in the vegetable patch. It grows well with other leafy greens and herbs that enjoy similar cool, moist conditions. A patch of sorrel interspersed with clumps of chives and parsley creates a wonderful, productive herb corner. Their different root depths mean they are not in direct competition, and they create a tapestry of different shades of green, which is always a pleasing sight. This is a plant that asks for so little. A spot in the garden, a bit of moisture, and the occasional harvest is all it needs to thrive. In return, it provides you with a unique and versatile flavor that is hard to find in the shops. It's a connection to an older way of cooking, a taste that brings a bright, sharp, and welcome zest to the kitchen. From the first days of spring to the last days of autumn. And there we have it. 7 wonderful perennials, each with its own character, its own needs, and its own unique rewards. I do hope this has encouraged you to make a little space for them in your own garden. There is a deep and lasting satisfaction in planting something that will become a permanent part of your landscape, a living legacy that will feed you and your family for years to come. It's a move away from the frantic pace of annual sowing and towards a more sustainable, settled, and deeply connected way of gardening. This is not about rigid rules, but about observation and partnership. Don't be afraid to experiment. See how these plants work in your particular space, with your soil and your climate. Try different companion plantings, move things around, and see what thrives. The best results often come from happy accidents and a willingness to learn from the garden itself. A healthy garden is a balanced ecosystem, and practices like companion planting and crop rotation are simply ways of mimicking the wisdom of nature. The connection between the garden and the kitchen is where the real magic happens. So as you begin your own perennial journey, I invite you to continue the conversation. Please share your own experiences and, most importantly, your favorite recipes in the comments below. How do you like to cook your rhubarb? Do you have a secret for the perfect roasted Jerusalem artichoke? Let's create a community of shared knowledge and shared meals. Until next time, happy gardening.